Maggot, a horror story told in serial form. Spring Break, 1973. Part 1, Friday night. I was sitting at the dining room table in the dark, smoking a cigarette and staring out the window at Kerr Street, when the street lights finally winked on. Night had fallen. I got up and stood next to the phone mounted on the dining room wall. It rang. I picked it up on the first ring and said, "Bag?" "The In-N-Out store," a voice said. "20, I said. 15. He hung up. I grabbed my cap and my old green trench coat from the closet, locked the door, went down the stairs and out through the service entrance and into Kerr Street. East side, west side. As the Kerr Street boys lounged on the corner in front of the cadet cleaners on the east side, I crossed over to the other, the west, stopping at Mac's Milk long enough to buy a small deck of cools. Once upon a time, the local rag, which was called the Beaver, I shit you not, ran an article referring to Kerr Street as the Continental Quarter, and comparing it to Kensington Market in T.O., and to Old Montreal, etc., etc., as if a tawdry landscape of gas stations, Italian variety stores, and low-rise, low-rent apartment buildings was some sort of tourist mecca. We who lived there knew exactly what Kerr Street was. The wrong side of the tracks. Skid Row. It was a wild, blustery night, with a bitter wind off the lake, blowing right into my face. It was too cold to even think about smoking. Instead, I dug my hands deep into my trench coat pockets, tucked my chin into my collar, and pulled my cap down over my eyes. Bag was waiting on the corner by the Brewer's Retail, a.k.a. the In-N-Out store. I knew there was no way I could have made it before he got there, and he knew it too. But that didn't keep him from stating, "You're late." I shrugged. I wasn't in that big a hurry to see you. He didn't have a snappy answer for that. We had turned automatically and had begun walking down Lakeshore Road toward what passed for downtown. Half an hour later, we were sitting in the gazebo, better known as the gazebo, in Lakeside Park. We were out of the damp Hyperborean winds, but could hear the waves, churned into froth by the squall, pounding onto the nearby shore. My hands were numb and my coffee was cold. Bag leaned towards me in order to be heard above the wind and said, "I want to share something with you, but it has to remain just between the two of us, okay?" "You mean you're finally coming out of the closet?" "Ha ha. No, it's nothing like that, but the clowns at school would never let me hear the end of it. So this has got to be between just us." He said it so simply, so calmly, I was impressed in spite of myself. I watched closely as he took out his battered brown wallet and selected a small card, which he held out towards me. I took it, and, if possible, my surprise increased. It was a business card bearing the legend, Bag's real name, followed by the word Investigations. Directly underneath the words was a drawing of a tiny private investigator with deerstalker and dark green overcoat, holding an enormous magnifying glass to an enlarged and exaggerated all-seeing eye. "What is this?" I asked, truly mystified. "It's what I want to do with my life." "You want to be a private eye?" "Yeah. So you can see why I want to keep this just between the two of us." I did indeed. The cement heads we had to attend school with would milk such an opportunity for ridicule for years, and we were still stuck with them for years. I got that, but I was still confused. "Okay, but what does this have to do with... It's March break, we're stuck in town, so what do you want to do for the week?" "Well, I don't know. Since the old doll's away visiting and I have the dump to myself, I was figuring on doing a lot of reading, Lovecraft, Raymond Chandler, and head to Toronto to see the sights. You know, girls. Well, I've been reading a lot of books on private detection, including some of the old man's. He used to be an MP when he first joined up, and I've read up on some of the techniques and, well, this week I want to put them into practice. I was stunned. It took me a minute before I said, "You want to play detective?" This idea was worse than anything I could have imagined. Practice. Practice. I tossed the remains of my cigarette into the darkness and said, "Maybe we should just go to T.O." "What are we going to do in Toronto?" "There's lots of things we could do. I wouldn't mind going to see the last detail. It's restricted." "There are ways around that." "You only want to go to T.O. to check out the broads." "Well, that's a given." "If you want to indulge in people watching, we can save our dough and do that here in town. The scientific word, by the way, is surveillance." "What exactly are you talking about?" Bag moved slightly closer to me, as if physical proximity would give added weight to his argument. "One of the tasks of a detective is to tail suspects. I want to spend the next week practicing this by actually tailing people around town. The idea would be to keep them under constant surveillance without being observed." "You could do this on your own." "It works better if you have two guys. You can alternate the guy doing the tail, so it's less likely the suspect will pick them up. Besides," he said, "it's more fun with two guys." "Two guys are more likely to get spotted." "Not if we use good technique." "I don't know." Although I did know, I didn't like it. I lit another cigarette, wishing we were talking about something else. "Come on," he said, "give it a try. And I'll tell you what. Give me 3 days, 72 hours. And if you're not hooked, we'll quit and go to T.O. 3 days, I snapped. That's half the holiday. "Yeah, but you weren't planning on going to the Big Smoke every day, now were you? You don't have the money." He had me there. "Okay, but who around here are we going to tail?" "Let's start with Jimbo," Bag suggested brightly. "No way," I yelled. Jimbo was a strange little guy, a Charles Manson wannabe, down to the shabby clothes and the shaggy goatee, who was also a permanent fixture in the local Tim Hortons. I didn't know where or how he lived. My guess was either welfare or dope. But you couldn't wander around anywhere in this burg without running into him at all hours, night and day, sometimes in the strangest places. When I got my voice back under control, I managed to spit out, "There is no way I'm following Jimbo around. Why, I'm always tripping over the guy, even though I can't stand him." But the mention of Jimbo did give me some inspiration. "Why don't you partner with him?" I said innocently. "The way he sneaks around, I bet he's really good at tailing people." Bag ignored the suggestion. "We could tail Tess." "Tess?" I said, shaking my head. "Too creepy." Tess was a sexy little Italian girl who worked at Tim's. I knew she really liked me, but I was already in love with someone else. Someone who didn't give me the time of day. Bag thought I was nuts for not going after Tess, and sometimes he would sing, "And if you can't be with the one you love, brother, love the one you're with. Love the one you're with." But tonight, all he said was, "Well, let's head back to Timmy's and see if we can pick up someone on the way." "All right," I said. "Just let me finish my butt first." Oh, if I'd never lit that last cigarette. Or, if we'd only headed off for Tim's right then. But that's not what happened. But that's not what happened. To be continued.